everybody. So thank you for being so gracious as we're trying to figure out a way to make it easier for everybody, because it's pretty cumbersome to try to go down such a big long list for attendance. So we'll get the bugs worked out, but for sure let us know if you're not able to sign in, and Marielle will be sure to get you listed for attendance.
Absolutely. And with that, I think we can get go ahead and get started, Karen.
Okay, everybody, welcome. Can you believe we're almost at the tail end of September? Where has this year gone? I can't even believe it. Does anybody see, are there already like holiday decorations out? It's not October yet. But anyways, fall is a beautiful time of the year for a lot of different wonderful reasons, but also as we start to get into the colder weather, we have to be mindful of all of those that don't have the blessing and benefit of shelter and housing and all of the things that we have. And I just want to thank you all for the hard work that you do every single day, 24/7, 365. Appreciate you all so much. We're going to dive into the meeting. So Mar, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So, Mar, I trust that you will let me know when we reach quorum.
Yes,
We have not. Have we reached one?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, good job, everybody. So it looks like the system is working, but please do continue to communicate with Mar if you were not successful in filling out that form. Since we don't have to go through the tedious task of calling you by name for roll call, I'm going to move on to one of my favorite things, which is to announce new members under agenda item 1-2. So I'm going to run down the list, and if there are any of you from those organizations that want to say hello, please do after I call the name of your organization. Would like to welcome Scan Health Plan. Anybody here from Scan? Okay, Advancing Steps, welcome. Anybody here?
Hello, welcome. Hi.
Hi. Well, what's your name?
Hi, how are you? Walker Beverly, founder and executive director of Advancing Steps.
Oh, we're so excited to have you join us. Thank you so much. How about Saboba Band of Luceño Indians Tribal TANF? Anybody here?
Yes, hi, Lloyd Merritt, representing Saboba Band of Indian Tribe.
Thank you. You were cutting out a little bit, but so happy that you could join us. How about Encompass Housing? Anybody from Encompass Housing?
Yes, Brian Trigueros.
Welcome. How about First Serve Foundation? Another new member. Anybody here from First Serve Foundation?
Hi, this is Elena Elam from First Serve. Hello.
Welcome. Okay, how about Corrine Marshall, an individual? Are you here, Corrine? Okay, welcome to all the new members. We're so excited that we want a broad, diverse, and inclusive continuum of care. So we get so excited when we see new members. Now remember that if you aren't aware of this, or you recall, to become a voting member, you have to request to become a voting member, fill out one of the continuum of care appointment letters, have an official in your organization appoint you as such, and Mark can get you connected to that. That letter is also on our continuum of care website. You have to attend 3 consecutive meetings and be appointed. And if you do that, then you become like the next group of folks that we're going to introduce, and that is official voting members. So with that, I'd like to welcome Community Health Systems. It looks like we have Miley Munoz. Miley, are you here? Okay.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much.
Oh, great. Thank you, Miley. How about Community Housing Opportunities Corporation? Terry Smith, I think you're here, right?
I'm here. Thank you. Nice to see you all.
Welcome. Okay, Faith in Motion. Irene, is it Capon? Am I saying that right? Okay, how about Hope Through Housing, Vanessa Castro? Okay, well, I think you guys, we should put up a whole bunch of clapping hands. Because that's a lot of new people to our continuum of care. So excited to see the the new members and the new voting members. So let's go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. Consent items. At this time, we would like to consider the approval of the August 23rd, 2023 Continuum of Care minutes, which are included in the Google Drive for you. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Nicole. Do I have a second?
Kimberly McKinney, second.
This is Charles. All right.
Thank you, Kimberly. Do I have any objections or abstentions? All right, motion passes. Let's move on to the next agenda item. At this time, members of the public may address the continuum of care with any items that are not on the agenda. Mar, did we receive any written public comments?
No, we did not.
Okay. Is there anybody here that has public comments they would like to bring forward? Let me know. Okay. Hearing none, let's move on to the next agenda item. Leadership Spotlight. You all know I get super excited about this. One of my favorite times of the month where we can actually spotlight the great work of amazing people in our continuum of care system. And I am just so proud of this lady, Carol Alba, and just seeing the progress and growth in her organization, Faith in Action, and the collaboration that she's achieved with public and private partners and applying for grants, and now being a new member of the Board of Governance. We're so excited to hear from her. So Carol, you may have the floor to tell us more about your great work and your great organization.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I am very nervous and honored to be doing this in front of such a great group. It's all of you have inspired me during the last couple years of being part of the COC, and I definitely learn every time I attend one of these meetings. I don't quite know what to do here to flip the slides. How do I do that?
You can just say next slide, Carol, and I can turn the video.
Okay, good. All right, well, to all of you, our organization is called Faith in Action of the San Gorgonio Pass. And our short title is FIA-SGP. Most of the time we're known as Faith in Action. Next slide. And we always get the question, well, it's got the word faith, so you must be religious. You must be with a church of some kind. And the answer to that is no, we are not affiliated with any religion or any church. You know, faith can mean a lot of things. For us, it means passion. It means, you know, what we think is the right thing to do. It means our mission and the effort that we put into the work that we do. So we always have to tell people that, you know, faith is a lot of things. It's your belief system. And our belief system is founded in what is best for low income and homeless individuals. Next slide. Well, I always tell everybody we are kind of in the armpit of the county. And I'm thinking if you see this map, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. Banning, nobody really knows where we are, but we are known as a stagecoach town. I just want you to know that. We're kind of between the big cities of Riverside and Palm Springs. You go down the 10 freeway and you see Banning, Beaumont, and Cabazon, and then you see the Morongo Casino. So that's kind of where we are. We're in a very, very low income area with many, many needs and not as many resources as we'd like to have down that way. So we are in a high need area. Next slide. So the organization started off back in 2006, and it was just a group of people that got together and wanted to do some good things for all the homeless people that they saw around. And so they were giving out blankets and some food, and then they became a 501c3 nonprofit. And things kind of just went around along for a while, but then COVID hit, and I think that impacted all of us. But then after COVID, the group kind of reemerged and decided to move forward and get something done. And they only had $5,000 in the bank at that time. So that's kind of where we started. Next slide. So when COVID, after COVID or during COVID, we did do a lot of grant writing, and we did get some COVID funding because there was tons of that out there. And I think most of you know that. Through that funding, we also made connections with other organizations. We tried a few fundraisers, got a few volunteers. Our board members scattered all over the United States, so we had to come up with a new board. And the new board elected new officers, and the new officers, one of which is myself, we started a new direction for the organization, which was navigation services. And a lot of that came out of some of the work that the COC has been doing, and also connections and information that we've gathered from across the country. Next slide. This is our little home. I just took that picture the other day just for you guys. It's two little offices at the end of a building. The location's great. We love it because we're right next to the Banning Opportunity Center. And that is 20 little pallet shelters filled with up to 20 folks. And they were like a block away. And during the day, this office gets very, very busy. We started off with one office, and we now have grown up to two, and we employ 6 navigators who are from various walks of life. And we always say that we're trained by the resources in the community. We invite them to come in and train us on the services they offer, so then we can in turn offer those or connect them to the folks we serve. Next slide. So a lot of people say, well, what is a navigation center? You know, is it a ship dock or what? But anyway, we have to explain, you know, the navigation center, it basically is a place where you can get guidance, you can get direction on some of the needs that you might have. And that could involve using computers. It could be just talking to somebody one-on-one. You know, it could be signing up for any type of public benefit, you know, employment, housing. We also have little snack packs, food we offer. It's amazing what we do in this office. We even have a station for folks to plug in their phones. And recently, when the weather got hot, we had ice available for people. So it can be a lot of different things, but think of it as a guidance center, as a place where you can go to get some of the help that you need without any questions and without judgment. Next question. It also centers around all the different social determinants of health. And although we don't dabble in all of these things, we certainly are connected to them in some way, shape, or form. And our 2 big areas that we're working on right now is housing, obviously, employment, and some health. However, people come to us for a variety of different things, and it's all interconnected to the social determinants of health that I know a lot of our health plans are involved in. Next. So, so far, that's this year from January to 23. This is just some of the stuff we've done. People say, well, what do you guys do there? Well, I've given you some numbers here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time so you can memorize the numbers, but you can look very quickly at some of the things that we have done. When things are available, we kind of emphasize those things, but you can also see we support all of the things that the COC is involved in, like the VSPDAT, you know, any of the things that offer assistance to our folks. And we recently have gotten more connected to things like immigration assistance because we have a high population that needs those services. Next slide. So right now we're in 23, we're going into 24. So here's where we're at. You got to remember, we are just a little potato here. I always think of us as the little engine that could trying to go up that big hill. So we are going to continue to offer free services. We're going to really concentrate on some housing needs because Banning and Beaumont, there is very limited housing. We do have some housing developments, but it's a 7-year wait. We just did get a grant for some rapid rehousing, which we're thrilled about, and we're hoping to build upon that. We really want to partner with people. So one of my asks for anybody that is hearing this is that if you are a small organization like us, and I consider small, under 250,000, okay, or maybe it's under 500. Anyway, connect up with us. Some of the big players out there, the big universities, the medical systems, the folks that have the big bucks and the big streams of money coming in, reach out to us, the smaller people in your area, and subcontract with us, subgrant with us, get us involved, because we don't necessarily have the capacity to do the big work that you do, but we can sure get into those areas that you really want to get into. And I think that's where we become very, very useful. So I'm all about the small guys. And also we're going to continue with the COC because this is an amazing group. Next one, please. Okay, we had an experiment this year, and I'm just going to be shameless here. One of our funding streams was that we decided to start a gift store. And the gift store is right downtown Banning. And if you know where Banning is, not a lot of people shop down there, but we decided that we would open a store down there. And we've had it open for about a year now. And we're at the point now where we have to make a decision. Do we keep it open or not? We have volunteers that run it, and all the proceeds go back to Faith and Action. And it's allowed us to do some things that other people can't do. And I'm just letting you all know that I'm going to be sending you a link to our Seas Candy fundraiser when this is all over with today, so you guys can support us and help us out in any way that you can. So anyway, I think that's the last slide. Is that the last one? I love the last one. I really think this is true, especially with what's going on in our country now. The greatness of a nation can be judged how it treats its weakest member. I totally believe in that quote. So that's kind of a philosophy that we run by. And I think that is the end. And what a pleasure it was to share with all of you. Don't forget about the little guy, and look for your chocolate link.
It looks like we have a question from Connie.
Sure.
Yes, could you put up your address? I would love to have one of our staff members come by and give you some resources for your people that you serve.
Excellent. And if any of you are in our area and we don't know about you, please come on by. Let's talk. You can get to know us, we can get to know you. And yes, more than welcome. Where do I put that? Just in the chat then?
Yes.
I'll put my info in the chat. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Oh, no, you're welcome.
Other questions or comments? Tanya.
Good afternoon, everybody. Haven't had a chance to say hello. Deputy Director with Housing and Workforce Solutions, and I oversee our homeless continuum of care. I just wanted to commend you, Carol. I still remember the very first day that you started participating in these meetings, and you naturally, from that point forward, became a voice and a representative for the Banning area, for the residents there. And I just want to thank you for remaining persistent and continuing to speak up, because I know, right, having many years ago now, but I started off in the nonprofit sector, and I know and I know, right, it's not a easy lift to not only attend these meetings, but also, right, there's a learning curve that all of us talk about. The
Oh,
first
big
time that you attend a COC meeting, you're like, what the heck are we talking about? I thought we were going to get on this line to talk about addressing homelessness, and instead, you know, we're having discussions on, you know, policy, and so sometimes it's hard to connect the dots, but you have truly been consistent, and you've, you know, taken the time to form relationships with all of us to get to know us, but you've also allowed us to get to know you. And so now here you are sharing with us, and you have numbers to show the impact of your work and how you're facilitating connections to housing, to, you know, all these different services. And so I just want to thank you for doing that, for reminding us, you know, why servicing the past area and making sure that, you know, we're providing reach to residents in that area is important. So thank you. Can't commend you enough, because I know it's taken a lot of your time, a lot of effort, even after hours, to get to this point.
Well, thank you. The COC has been very encouraging, and I encourage all of the new members to take advantage of the information that's shared, and don't be afraid to get involved. And please hook up with us in any way, shape, or form that you can. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Yes, and I think what's really beautiful is you can see in the chat, and this is one of the advantages of coming together as a collaborative. You can see how it looks like the Walden Family Services is reaching out to Faith in Action, because one organization is providing one set of services and the others can complement that. And wonderful partnerships can develop and capacity can be built, and it, you know, brings opportunities for potential grants in the future. And you know, Carol, I just want to give a shout out to you and echo what Tanya said, and just to encourage everybody else to think of in this space like stick-to-itiveness. Carol is an example of perseverance and trying to navigate the system and build partnerships from a grassroots level. And so I think that's beautiful, because that's what we want to do, is have more capacity building in the system of care. So thank you again, Carol. We're totally proud of you, and so happy for all the clients that whose lives you've been touching in that region of our county. Let's go ahead and move on to the next agenda item, 5.1. We have the Riverside Arts Council presentation, and we have Rachel Chakowski, I believe, the executive director. I hope I said your name correctly, Rachel.
It's okay, nobody does. It's Jakoinski.
Jakoinski.
But we never see that together. So
okay, thank you. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, so I'm happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me. So I am the executive director of the Riverside Arts Council, and I'm also adjunct faculty at Moreno Valley, Norco, and Mount San Jacinto community colleges. Art is my passion, and you know, it's also my therapy, which is why we've been expanding our current programming with the artist therapy. So if we can skip to the next slide, I'll jump into the business. So there's a great quote by Pablo Picasso: "Art washes away the soul, from the soul, the dust of everyday life." So that, in a nutshell, is how art itself can help with, you know, just in general, your mental health. If we could go to the next slide, please. So some definitions in case you are not familiar with artist therapy. It is actually a very new avenue of study, but art therapy is also known as arts therapy, is a creative method of expression used as a therapeutic technique. It is a form of expressive therapy that uses the creative process of making art to improve a person's physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And it is also sometimes called creative arts therapy or expressive arts therapy. And it encourages people to express and understand emotions through artistic expression and through the creative process. So what I tell most of my students when I'm teaching art appreciation is art is a way of expressing ourselves and also helping to understand who, or, you know, looking at a piece of artwork, You can't judge a book by its cover. Same thing with people. And it's just an easier form of communication. Pictures and images are a lot easier to express your feelings and emotions than words can be in most cases for myself. Next slide, please. So the background we have, it is a relatively young therapeutic discipline. So its roots lie in the use of the arts in the moral treatment of psychiatric patients in the late 18th century. And this, Susan Hogan argues, came out of utilitarian philosophy and also from a nonconformist religious tradition. And in a reevaluation of the art of non-Western art and art of the untrained artists and of the insane. Next slide, please. So the beginning as a profession began in the mid-20th century, and it arose independently in English-speaking and European countries. The early art therapists who published accounts of their work acknowledged the influence of aesthetics, psychiatry, psychoanalysis, rehabilitation, early childhood education, and art education to varying degrees on their practice. Next slide. And so we want to know what the purpose of art therapy would be. And it is basically one of healing. So artist therapy can be successfully applied to clients with physical, mental, or emotional problems, diseases, and disorders. And any type of visual art and art medium can be employed within a therapeutic process. And that includes everything from painting, drawing, sculpting, photography, and digital art. And it's, you know, those aren't even, that doesn't cover all of the mediums itself. It's just the act of expressing and getting, you know, that act of completing something, you feel accomplished when you finish an artwork. It might not be the best artwork, but at least you completed something that you can say that you're proud of. Next slide, please. So artist therapy versus creative arts. Art therapy stands in contrast with other kinds of creative or expressive arts therapies that use dance, music, or drama. One of the major differences between art therapy and other forms of communication is that most other forms of communication elicit the words or the use of words or language as a means of communication. So if we're looking at theater, we're still using words to express rather than just using free expression, motion, thinking about you know, abstract or non-representational artwork. You're just kind of getting the emotions out. You're not really trying to formulate the words because that kind of takes a little more thought than just the act of expression. Next slide, please. So if we would look at a typical session of what art therapy or art therapists do, this is, let's see, Malchiodi, which I might be mispronouncing that name, provides an example of what an art therapy session involves and how it was different from an art class. In most art therapy sessions, the focus is on your inner experience, so your feelings, perceptions, and imagination, while art therapy may involve learning skills or art techniques. And the emphasis is generally first on developing and expressing images that come from inside the person rather than those that he or she sees in the outside world. And so while some traditional art classes might ask you to paint or draw from your imagination, in art therapy, your inner world of images, feelings, thoughts, and ideas are always of primary importance to the experience. Next slide, please. So this is just for a reference. As I mentioned, there are many more mediums aside from drawing, painting, sculpting, and photography and digital art. So within the drawing category, we have dry and wet media. The dry media including pen, charcoal, chalk, crayon, color pencil, marker, and pastel. And then we have the wet media, which would be pen and ink, brush and ink, watercolor, and pencil. Watercolor pencil, I mean. So then in painting, we have watercolor, tempera, fresco, oil, acrylic, and we have spray paint, and we even have paint markers, which would be a combination of wet and dry or wet media drawing and painting. And then we have printmaking, monotype, linocut, woodcut, sponge, lithography, and silkscreen. And then with sculpture, you have wood, metal, plastic, wax, plaster, and assemblage. And that still isn't even all of them, but that's the major players in the game. Okay, next slide, please. So as a task, this is just going to take a couple minutes, but just identify 2 to 3 symbols that are reoccurrent for you. So this, think about yourself internally. You don't have to say it out loud, or you can enter it into the chat if you feel like sharing. But think about what symbols or images appear in your life. So circles, spirals, any other kind of symbol or shape. It could be flowers or nature, water, air, fire, earth, animals, creatures, objects, knots, crosses, keys, labyrinth, etc., colors, numbers, and letters. And then take those symbols and express those symbols artistically with drawing or sketching them. I'm not going to make you guys draw right now, but if you want to, feel free, and I would love to see what you come up with, because doodling during meetings is also expressive and therapeutic. Okay, so then we can move to the next slide. Okay, so then once you have these symbols, you're going to think about their associations to your emotions, experience, and your meaning in life. So Karen put horses, so that's a symbol right there. And so what is your emotion or your experience or the meaning of horses in your life? For myself, I like horses as well. And, you know, it would be, I guess, positive experiences of horses just being in their vicinity and petting them. So that would be an example of how to deeper dive into what those symbols are that reoccur. And then ask yourself, what meaning do your symbols have for you, and how can you explore them further? How can you explore how they comfort or help or interest you in your life? Okay, next slide. Okay, so art reflects the artist. So this was another, going back to what I said before, don't judge a book by its cover. When you're looking at a piece of artwork, that artist is putting their personal expression through their own personal technique. It's kind of like handwriting. Nobody has the same handwriting. So if everybody's drawing a horse, no one's going to draw the horse the same way. But why are we going to judge that? They drew the horse that they wanted to draw, and you're looking at it from your own perspective. And so when you're looking at art and when you're creating art, you are coming at it with all of your whole life of experiences behind you. You know, the way that you were raised, the schools that you went to, the vacations you went on, the college you might have gone to, all of that good stuff. So whenever someone looks at one picture, they're not necessarily going to have the same reaction to that artwork. So one person might look at a picture or a painting of a skull and like that, but another person might think it's creepy. So back to the point or the slide. Every single person in this room has reoccurrent images and themes that show up in their lives. These images don't have to be in the form of an artwork, but can come about in other forms. And that could be jewelry, tattoos, items in your home, photos that you choose to take, clothing style, color choices, patterns, etc. And artist therapy works in a similar way in that the art that you create is a reflection of the artist who created it. So again, it's that expression that you're putting into the creation. Next slide, please. So the symbolism of artist therapy, it can include an exploration of the images and the themes that are recurrent for the client. And then the symbols can be either threatening or calming or have a deeper meaning. But the role of the art therapist is to facilitate the process of helping the client understand their own artwork. Next slide. Oh, and I don't know will the slides be shared or available, accessible?
Yes, they're in the Google Doc, so everybody can see them.
Okay, so I put the link in there so that you guys can access that. Okay, next slide. So the benefits of art as therapy. Art as therapy improves communication, it improves social skills, it improves gross and fine motor coordination. So if we're talking about ceramics or working with clay, it's going to create, more hand strength and gross motor skills and muscular development. And then it'll resolve conflicts and problems, or it can help to improve a sense of self, manage behavior, reduce frequency of negative behaviors, create new patterns of learning, and increase self-esteem and awareness. Next slide, please. So there are a few myths that have been brought up, that art as therapy is just for children or those with special needs, but this is not the case. As I mentioned previously, I myself use art as a method of therapy in my life. And we also actually have a program that we just, over the last few months, started working with RUHS with youth in foster care. So we're using this practice to kind of, boost morale with the children. But again, that's children, so then I'm going back to the myth. But I'm an adult, so that art as therapy is not just for kids. So art therapy can also be utilized for a wide range of client populations. We also have another program with veterans as well, so we're expanding it even further. And then one does not need to have any artistic talent to do art therapy. So again, it's more about the expression and the creation, the process of creation that is the important piece of what's happening rather than the actual piece created. And art therapy is not about creating a pretty picture. Often art expresses difficult and/or negative emotions and experiences. And by expressing these experiences, a client can heal from trauma, illness, and better manage symptoms. Next slide, please. So in cases of, art as therapy with behavioral modification, in cases of autism, Asperger's, OCD, and ADHD, often art therapy is recommended in addition to applied behavior analysis, behavior modification strategies, occupational therapy, sensory integration therapy, and cognitive behavioral therapy. And positive behavior reinforcement. So not punishment for negative reinforcement, as this ends up basically increasing anxiety, hostility, and anger. Next slide, please. Oh, next slide, please. Sorry. Art therapy and skill building. So art therapy is not about teaching art techniques. However, it can help a client build skills that can translate to other arenas of life. And one of the things that I like to do in my classes and through our art therapy programs is to give them the tools to create artwork wherever they might end up. So teach origami, you just need a piece of paper. If you teach how to draw a certain thing, it's a piece of paper and a pencil or a writing tool. So that's one of our goals as well. And then let's see. So another example would be art can teach how to follow 1 to 2 step directions, planning, pacing, time management, and to promote gross and fine motor development again. It can also build confidence, self-esteem, and a sense of accomplishment. And these are all positive qualities that reduce negative, impulsive, and antisocial behaviors. Next slide, please. So art therapy can be utilized for a variety of other disorders. It can externalize trauma and emotions, so it allows a client to express trauma in a safe way. Imagery and artwork can tap into unconscious material that verbal discussion or dialogue sometimes cannot. And art therapy can help a client with anxiety or depression by exploration of experiences so that a client can better understand the source, triggers, and characteristics of their disorder. And it can also promote coping skills, problem solving, and symptom reduction. Next slide, please. So as far as providers of art as therapy, we're not licensed for art therapists. We don't have any art therapists working on our team. However, we do use the tool of art to help with or mitigate the intentions of art therapy. So the goal of the Riverside Arts Council Artist Therapy Program aims to aid homeless service providers or agencies by providing regular workshops to provide skill building through various art media, provide materials for workshops, provide guidance to students on what expression methods they can complete on their own with everyday materials, and guiding students to focus on inner feelings in creating artworks to promote self-expression. So one last little quote would be, art offers a method for expressing the feelings and emotions that we cannot always put into words. So next slide, please. I think there's 2 more. We have some upcoming events for the Riverside Arts Council. They're not specific to art as therapy. However, they part of art therapy is also experiencing art. So these are some opportunities that you might be able to bring your clients into. So we have Riverside Arts Walk. This actually happens every first Thursday of the month, but the next one will be October 5th from 6 to 9 p.m. in downtown Riverside. And during this event, we actually have artist vendors all the way on down Main Street in downtown Riverside, from 5th Street all the way to 10th, I believe. And we also have all of the galleries and museums participating, and they are free. They're open late and free of charge. And then the Riverside Art and Music Festival is also a free event. This one is October 7th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. in White Park in downtown Riverside. And this one is going to have live music. I think we have 5 bands booked, a lot of community performances that will take place in between, artist vendors again, and some of our community arts organizations will be set up in the park as well. We'll have art installations by quite a few artists, even including some from Tio's Tacos, which is also in downtown Riverside, and from Division 9 Gallery. But enough about the festival. I don't want to take up too much more time. We're also having regular professional development workshops for artists. The next one coming up is going to be for artist vendors, so best vending practices, and that'll be on October 19th from 6 to 8 p.m. And then we have the Veterans Art Exhibition for the November Arts Walk. It's going to be an exhibit of artwork, and then we'll have artist vendors and entertainment, all by veteran artists that are veterans. And this will take place at the Civil Rights Institute, and that is in downtown Riverside, and this is November 2nd through 11th. And on the 2nd, it'll be open for the opening reception from 6 to 9, and November 11th will be a daytime event from 12 to 4 p.m. Next slide, please. So here's more information that you can check out if you're interested in getting in touch. We're, again, the Riverside Arts Council. There's our website. We also have the Instagram handles for Riverside Arts Walk and Riverside Arts Council. And then there is my email as well. Oh, and thank you, Matt, for that note. The Riverside Arts Walk has actually expanded quite a bit, and it is such a great ambiance. Everybody's so happy and enjoying to be there. So check it out if you can. That is my last slide. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Okay, everybody, now's your chance. I know that there's opportunities, what she mentioned about artists, but I'm sure you guys probably have questions about maybe how your clients could benefit and potential collaboration. So does anybody have questions about that? Amir?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, yeah, this is Amir. I'm the community engagement coordinator for Silence Aloud's new facility, The Bridge, which actually incorporates a lot of the ideals of arts therapy. So I was like actually really like interested in hearing about like all of this and the fact that you provide resources to providers. And I just wanted to note that we are having an event on October 21st, kind of like a small starter, like grand opening. And I wanted that we're gonna have a mural competition, so I would love to like send these materials and all the different like youth and just clientele that you work with at your schools and things like that could like take advantage of the opportunity at our facility.
Yeah, definitely send us some information.
That sounds good. Love connecting the dots and the collaboration. Anybody else have any comments? Okay, Rachel, thank you so much. I was thinking about what you had to say about drawing. I myself, you would be scared if you saw my artwork. I'm really good at stick people and stick horses. But the therapy of horses themselves, to pet them and groom them and ride them, is out of this world. But I think there's such great value in what you had to say about the value and how therapeutic art is an expression. And, our whole approach in Continuum of Care is trauma-informed care. And I think you hit the nail on the head about trying to address trauma from a therapeutical perspective. So we thank you so much. And we hope we can get more information about particular classes or opportunities where the different organizations can partner with you for their clients in particular. So however, we can follow up with you to do that, because I'm sure that there are a lot of folks with clients that could benefit from something like that. And so I think of our own clients that we have here in the Corona-Norco region who would benefit from it. So
awesome. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. And that all sounds great.
Awesome. Okay. Let's go on to the next agenda item. Dun, 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 dun. We have our amazing Rashana Walker, who has some phenomenal news. Take it away regarding encampment resolution funding for the San Jacinto area. Rashana.
Thank you, Karen. So as Karen mentioned, we have some amazing news that we have received about $12 million to support and that $12 million came from the California Encampment Resolution funding application. And about late last year, our county submitted an application to the state so we can provide some more resources to those individuals in the San Jacinto River bottom area. And if you guys don't know, we earlier that year we received the first rounding of funding for our Santa Ana River bottom, just about $11 million for that one. But we decided to mirror that program that we implemented for the Santa Ana River bottom, and we mirrored it for the San Jacinto River bottom. I do want to give a shout out right now to Robin Gilliland and Matt Bates and the CityNet team, because they provided some assistance with some data and information for this application. So I mentioned earlier we received about $12 million, and I wanted to mention that we received the third highest allocation in the state of California for this encampment area. So we thought that was big. That service period is going to be through June 30th of 2026. And on this slide, you see the different departments of who we are partnering with through the cities and other county departments to work on this program. Also, too, I want to mention that there will be another round of funding that is likely to come out around late November, early December. And we are planning to submit another application for another encampment area. And we have received a high level of interest in the Southwest region. So we're just to let you know, we're planning on submitting a third application for this round, for the next round of funding. Next slide. So for the encampment resolution, some of the backgrounds and objectives is services to address immediate crises for individuals experiencing unsheltered homelessness. And this funding is supporting people living in specific encampment areas. So as mentioned, this one is for the San Jacinto river bottom area. And for this particular encampment funding, they want to see results and sustainable outcomes. So with this funding, they also they want to see that we provide innovative service delivery models and cross systems collaborations. Next slide, please. So just to let everyone know, these are some of the eligible uses for this funding, which is direct services and housing options, capacity building, sustainable outcomes, and of course, there is an eligible expense for administration. Next slide, please. So as I said earlier, we're replicating what we're doing with our first award for the Santa Ana River Bottom, and we're taking those lessons learned that we found out from that encampment area. We're taking those lessons learned and applying it to this new San Jacinto area. So, for example, with this round of funding, we noticed we saw one of the lessons that we learned from the first one is we did not put in or created any funding opportunity for acquisition of actual housing. And so with this round of funding, we actually put in funding for the acquisition of a property to create a navigation center in that area. And as you all know, what is provided already out there is Just Valley Restart. So we want to bring more resources to that area. With this multidisciplinary team approach, on the slide there, you have the team that is listed. And we wanted to make sure that we try to cover all areas that would support those individuals in that area, to include animal services. So in the river bottom, as you all may or may not know, a lot of them do have pets, and specifically dogs, and that's mainly for companionship and protection. And those individuals are out there, and it can be dangerous. So a lot of them have dogs for protection. So we wanted to include services for their animals because those are their companions, and sometimes that's a part of their family member. So with this new funding opportunity, we're going to the services that are built out of it is 50 recovery beds. We have some bridge housing built in, 112 permanent housing, a case management services, animal services, and housing navigation. So with that being said, Mar, you can go to the next slide. That's my contact information. If you have any questions after this presentation or after this meeting, you can feel free to give me a call or an email. And at this time, does anyone have any questions?
Well, if no one has questions, I definitely have. Oh, Gina, go ahead, my dear.
It's actually not a question. It's just thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. I have been heading this direction for so long. Yes, I got to talk to you because now we can really put something into action. And the river bottom, I know, is just the place to start building. Okay, thank you.
Looking forward to talking to you, Gina.
Yes. Gina, I echo your sentiments, but if I could do it, I'd do a backflip right here now for you, Rashana, and the whole team that worked on this. This is absolutely incredible. And I know all of the hard work that you have done and the team members that support you in the Santa Ana River and the journey that we've been on since we really started that project in April of 2021, even before the grant came, and how, we've been evolving and learning. And to see, I think what I understood you to say is that the sort of the direction and change that the state and the expectations of the grant, it's great to see bricks and sticks are permanent housing built into that because that's lasting as opposed to temporary housing. So it's wonderful. But you guys have just been rocking it and, hitting the ball out of the park with all these amazing grants that are coming in. So I just don't even know what to say to thank you guys for all of the hard work. You make it look easy, but we know that it's not easy. And you guys have to know that your continuum of care appreciates all of you. Tanya, from all of your staff at the whole continuum of care, we really appreciate you guys. So let's all, give them a big round of applause for all the great work that they've done. This is a lot of money and a lot of resources. So looking forward to it. Okay, let's move on to 5.3. I think we might have some more good news. And we have our wonderful Monique Guerra.
Hello, everyone. It is nice to see everyone. I am following Rashana's amazing good news. So our Riverside County Continuum of Care received the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Program grant. And so as some of you all may know, this is our fourth attempt. So we are really happy to have been awarded. We were amongst 16 other communities that were awarded, and we received the third largest award in the country. And the amount is, drumroll please, 7.4 million. Boom. So I know we have a lot of questions about what we're doing with that, where it's going, and what is the next steps in the plan. And so I'm going to give you a brief update. And then as we go through our continuum of care meetings, we will continue to give updates to this group as well as solicit feedback. With these funds, 3% of it will be going to planning efforts during the 6-month period that HUD allows us to come up with what we're going to program or what project we're going to roll out. It does need to be housing centered. It should create housing opportunities for youth 18 to 24, and as well as some of our most vulnerable youth, right? We will be working closely with HUD and our COC, as well as our Youth Advisory Committee members. We do encourage all our stakeholders to participate in the Coordinated Community Plan, which is our 6-month process to plan with our stakeholders in our community. What do we do with these funds? While still looking at what had we included in our application for possible programming and projects for our youth, and it will incorporate housing, workforce, and behavioral health. And then we do want to look at our programming through an equity lens and abide by all of the amazing items that HUD has laid out for us. And so I will make sure to put all of that information in our meetings so that everyone knows what we're working on. These will be kind of our next steps in terms of CCP planning. So you'll hear that a lot. Our CCP, it's our Community Coordinated Plan. And again, we encourage all of our stakeholders to participate. This is going to continue to help us in our efforts to decrease youth homelessness during our 2023 pick count, as some of you all participated, and we appreciate you all greatly for your support from beginning to end, from identifying where our gaps are and where our youth are, to supporting us in the application process that we submitted, and also attending HUD's announcement when they came down last week to award us. Thank you all so much. We cannot express our gratitude enough for all of our amazing partners who made this possible. And we appreciate everyone. And so we hope that we can definitely continue to see the progress, right, in other places, not just our point in time count. But yeah, so we will keep everyone up to date with our next steps and when those CCP meetings will be. And if you are interested in joining and receiving all of the good information, along with our updates, please feel free to email me. I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat.
And Monique is being very humble. I was at the event when HUD made the announcement, and our head of Region 9, Rufus Washington, he made it clear that there were only a few counties across the US that had this benefit to get triple the amount of the funding request. And so I think that that's just another testimony to not only, you know, the strategy and capacity building that you know, the continuum of care is worked on, but also the extreme value of someone who has lived experience, which is a really important core value of the whole YDHP, and focus on youth. And so we're very fortunate to have our wonderful Monique and all the skill sets that she brings and the whole team around her. So again, we need to do another triple flip. I don't want to underemphasize this because, you know, a lot of times this stuff, you know, we don't want to just gloss over it. A lot of hard work went into this to bring all of these resources. A lot of people are going to be helped. So we have to make sure we celebrate these successes. And we're so thankful to the county team and the private partners that work together to make this happen. So congratulations, you guys. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the next agenda item.
Hello.
Hi, was there a question?
You know, it's not a question, but this is Sonia Lamas, and I just wanted to just give a shout out to all the, you know, the YAC committee that was at this, you know, check receivable, you know, award day or whatever it was. But it was really nice to have shared that with you guys, and you know, hands down to the department and Monique's great work. So I just want to say thank you, Monique.
Awesome.
Thank you, Sonia. You know that I have a special place in my heart for YAC and all of our youth providers. You know, it takes a special person to work with our youth population and to really critically understand what it is that they're experiencing, right? When they're experiencing homelessness and what that looks like and what those needs are. And so your agency has been essential as well. So thank you so much for really supporting our youth.
I just felt very proud, you know, to be part of that. So thank you for allowing me that space.
Awesome. Awesome collaboration. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to agenda item 6, standing agenda items. We'll start with the first one, which is our coordinated entry system. It's Liz, Monique, but John, are you the one giving the update today?
Yes, I sure am, Karen.
Well, I know you're going to do a great job. Let's hear it.
Thank you. Right. CES lead update. Next slide, please. We're going to go over a few numbers here. Currently, housing placements for the month of August, we had 42. Active and in need of a home connection, we have 903, and that also matches all of our clients that are on the community queue, which are 903 clients. Next, we have families with children waiting for home connections. We currently have 116. Outstanding home connections currently, we have 126. And I'll go ahead and go over the calls. The calls for the month of August, we had 2,019 calls at our 800 number, which is our home connect line. 16% of those calls were literally homeless individuals. 10% was at-risk individuals. Next, we have people that wanted motels. Around 20% of our calls are people wanting motel vouchers. And then 12% of our calls were from out of county. Next slide, please. So this is our areas of improvement CES has identified. The first area of improvement, increased number of phone calls from out of county and out of state callers. Our solution currently is working on identifying where out of state and county callers are getting the Home Connect number from, looking into redesigning our phone prompts to help filter and divert calls out accordingly. Our next area of improvement, or outreach agencies are not contacting referrals that are sent out, resulting in repeat callers and reassignments. CES will be running weekly reports on referrals that have been sent out and providing feedback to agencies on when pending referrals have no contacts documented, no program enrollments, and no outreach referral denials reported. Our next area of improvement is going to be consumers calling, exiting shelters with nowhere to go after maxing out their stay. Our solution for this would be train the staff to advise consumers to call the Home Connect line once they enter the shelter so housing navigation process can start faster. Train staff to do VI-SPDAT as soon as possible. These consumers need to be connected with housing navigation and case management teams as soon as possible to try and house them before exiting the shelter to free up shelter beds quicker. Next slide, please. Lastly, our announcements. We have some staff updates. We have hired a new social services assistant. This SSA is tasked with finding, validating, updating all resources available in Riverside County that Home Connect can provide to our callers. This position will work closely with agencies who have projects in HMIS to identify if projects are active and accepting referrals and documenting when projects no longer have funding. A few of our project updates. We do have 3 PBV PSH projects going on currently. 2 are going on currently. 1 is coming up next year. The first one is Oasis Senior Villas for 55 plus. This has been delayed currently. It was currently scheduled to open at the very beginning of October and has been pushed back to late October, early November. Our next one, which we are currently filling, is Vista de la Sierra. This is still on schedule to open in late October, early November. We'd like to thank all the agencies who are working so diligently to get the consumers dock ready. It's because of you guys we're able to match these consumers to housing vacancies with ease. Consumers who are document ready in our coordinated entry system makes all the difference when housing our people. Lastly, our CES partnership meeting update. Program and agency presenters are needed for CES partnership meetings. Any interested parties, please contact Home Connect at homeconnect@ruhealth.org to schedule a date to present. If you have any resources you feel that is worthy sharing, please let us know. We want to hear about it and highlight them in our next CES partnership meeting. And that is my last slide. So any questions? I do see Tanya, your hand up.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate the update, and I love that. If we can go back to the previous slide, where you really talk about some areas of improvement. And so I always like to think that we come together, right, to solve problem. Of course, we're trying to address homelessness, but I think any chance that we can sort of have a discussion around how we can improve systems and processes, and get in folks who do some of the direct services to weigh in on, you know, what they think the potential solution could be is great. So the one, obviously all of these got my attention. I'm not surprised that you're getting an increased number of calls from people across the state, or outside of the state. I forget which state it was, but it made news that there was a state buying flight tickets to California in an effort to get their unsheltered residents to warmer weather. And right, I don't know if it was the governor or the mayor of that particular community said, right, it felt inhumane to let people remain in his state because they were going to freeze to death. Of course, our argument was, well, put them in housing, right? But it was obviously a lot cheaper for him to purchase a flight instead of paying for a bed a night. But the discussion I thought maybe we could start today was around shelters. So clients exiting shelters and not having anywhere to go. A few of us went to the National Alliance Conference, and we were part of a discussion with other COCs where we asked about the length of stay, and the vast majority of shelters across the country all said that they did away with the 90-day length of stay requirement. Most people are staying in shelters much longer, anywhere from 6 to 8 months. In many cases, they acknowledge they had some residents that stayed there for a year. So I just wanted to hear from the shelter directors that are here, of course, without putting you on the spot. My inclination is that the response is going to be like, yes, we'd love to have people stay with us longer, but that's going to impact the number of people that we serve throughout the year. But then also, right, in order to make sure that we're really not just providing a temporary bed, but that we're helping people exit into permanent housing solutions, I'm thinking, right, that's going to require more case management supports being provided at the shelter. So I just want to open it up, kind of get a discussion going, because I think this is a really, really important topic.
So Tanya, I just wanted to tag on to what you had to say, and then we'll, so we got some other folks to comment. I wholeheartedly agree with you. And John, I just have to say, this is one of the best CES updates I've seen. Bravo. So, you know, this was you or a team, whoever, this is what we've been looking for in terms of updates on coordinated entry. A picture, look at all the hands, see all the clapping hands. You know, beyond just like numbers, what's going on with the system and what does it mean to us? How can you inform us that are in the trenches how we can do a better job supporting and understanding what the challenges are and how we can work together? And I also want to, just what Tanya had to say was so important. You know, from our sub-region, even though we have low barrier emergency shelter, we have been keeping people the timeframes that Tanya mentioned, because we don't like to have to exit people to the streets. There's pros and cons depending upon funding sources and policies and all kinds of things. It's very difficult to navigate, but it's an important conversation we need to have. So I'm looking forward to, let's see, we've got Kimberly, Jessica, William, and then Gina. So we'll start with Kimberly.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so the way we've combated this issue is that after 30 days, they're eligible to choose our faith-based or our secular program, which is more of a fast track into getting a job, getting training. We're a working mission, so they do some hours here. When they leave our programs after 9 months or 12 months, they have housing, a job, savings account, and they're on their own, ready to go. And we don't stop case managing at that point. Once a month, we're still checking in and making sure they're following the budgets. So the emergency shelter is, you know, at some point they decide that they want more, right? So we're case managing from the minute they come into the shelter, whether they're just there for a shower, a meal, and a sleepover, and then they leave. We're always open and they're always welcome to come back, but some of them just stay for, you know, the 3 months. I mean, when we had the bunk beds, we were having them stay for, they didn't want to leave. It was like a nice little nest for them, you know, so they could go out during the day and then come back. But I think that the referrals and the Home Connect is one portion of it, but the shelters, we try never to put somebody out on the street, or we refer them to another shelter if we can. But we all know we have those shelter hoppers too. So anyway, we love what you're doing, and we're here to help.
Great example of being creative with public and private funding. So that was really helpful, Kimberly. Let's take Jessica.
Hello, everyone. There are very, very many benefits to extending shelter stay. My experience is more in San Bernardino County region, and what we've came into barriers with were the individuals that have almost reached eligibility for permanent supportive housing. Once they pass that 90-day threshold, they lose their eligibility of chronicity. Most of the time, they might meet episodes of homelessness, but if they stayed in the emergency shelter longer than 90 days, they lose their chronicity. And that's where we're having major issues in regards to extending shelter stay. Has the COC considered any options on how to combat that from affecting the client's chronicity?
Heard that, Tanya?
I have not heard that. When I checked in with both our head rep and did kind of my own digging online, looking at the regulations, there really is no time frame. When you look at HUD's definition of a shelter, it's any setting that would provide temporary housing for a year or less. So less than 12 months is sort of the general and broad definition. And, you know, to my knowledge, as long as, you know, someone's placement meet that general time frame, then they continue to maintain their homeless status.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Because you're still homeless and you're still chronically homeless. You're not in permanent housing. So
yeah.
I think that may be true for transitional, because transitional you can stay up to 2 years. So I think we may be confusing the transitional with the emergency shelter.
And Jessica, what agency are you from again? I'm sorry.
Lutheran Social Services.
Okay. Good to know. You guys have been long partners with this work. It's good to know that you guys are back. Thank you.
And Tanya, we should dig deeper into the regs because as I understand it, even transitional is still time limited and considered shelter. It's still part of the shelter system. It's called transitional housing, but it's time limited. So I thought
with transitional housing, what the rules say is once an individual is sort of at their 90 days prior to their exit, then they can become eligible for permanent supportive housing. So you're right. HUD doesn't necessarily use the same definition as shelter, but individuals that are in transitional housing still maintain their status. And the guidelines are very clear that 90 days prior to that 24 mark, we can actively begin to work with them to sort of coordinate that next step into permanent housing.
Great discussions. It looks like we have William. Do you have a question or comment?
Yes, hi. Well, first, I just want to say thank you for allowing us to join these meetings, the COC. So thank you guys for allowing us to be here. Yes, today I am representing the Samoa Band of Luisenyo Indians. Most people are aware maybe of the reservation, or some of the participants in here maybe have won or lost at the casino. I'm not here to talk about that today. I am here to talk about our TANF program, because Tanya did make that comment about a discussion that she wants to kind of hear, so you can hear from the native side at least. We have the TANF program that covers the Riverside area. We do have housing services that we provide to the clients that we're able to service as well. And since COVID, we have noticed a trend in our service population that yes, we've had to extend them beyond the 6 months to a year, and now it's between 2 to 3 years, so long as they are still qualified for our program and our program requirements. So yeah, we're noticing that trend as well. And I'll put my information in the chat. We are always looking for any type of help or housing resources as well. Just because they're native, they still are eligible for all the services in Riverside, all the services in Riverside County. So yeah, thank you.
Great. Okay, Gina.
Okay. So many things come up. First of all, the idea of extending the stay is really important. I don't know what we have to do to get that official. talking from a personal standpoint, in the case of my daughter was mental health issues. Most programs were 30 days or 60 days, and it was nowhere near enough time. And she actually got out fairly early for the particular program she was in, and that was 9 months. So definitely have to extend that. Plus, I know I worked briefly volunteering in Valley Restart, excuse me, and their program is similar to what Kimberly was talking about. It's all the different components, and the same thing is like they would evaluate, but the key focus was that the person has to, or the people have to get a job, and they have to save money. Now, because this past year, all the housing costs have just blown up, they have to stay longer just to earn enough to move in. And I really feel that's very critical. 90 days is nowhere near enough for somebody to come up with, $4,000 to move in somewhere or whatever. I mean, even a year is not really enough, but still, that's really important. Money. I know also there's the problem similar with the penal system. Anybody coming out of that, they also don't necessarily get the right direction to not end up on the streets. And I'm hoping that as we progress and fix this, through Home Connect or whatever, that we can, piggyback the penal system so that more of those people don't end up out on the streets. Last but not least, thank you to William mentioning about how the tribe has expanded from 1 to 2 years. And I know in Sapoba, I'm hearing a lot of wonderful things happening there. So just thank you that. And if someone is part of a tribe, not necessarily the local tribe, and they somehow get into the Home Connect system, should they be directed to you, William?
William, I think that's for you.
Yes, any type of so we do have our own regulations. Our funding is from the feds. So if there's any needs or resources that we can connect them with, I always tell anybody, if you run into someone who's native or even says the word native, just pick up the phone, have them give us our number or give them our number, and any way that we can help, we can at least point them in the right direction in which they need to go for sure.
Awesome resource. Thank you. It looks like Tanya, then Kimberly.
Yeah, I just wanted to come back and one, recognize that while I open the floor, this is not like a very, right, it's important to have a discussion around this and understand that like the answer might be a little bit more complex than, yes, let's just extend the length of time, recognizing that to Gina, your point, like who makes a decision, the continuum of care years ago, probably about 5 to 6 years ago, basically made a recommendation to decrease the length of stay to 90 days, really to align with a measure. HUD evaluates our length of stay and gives us points on our NOFO application when we are able to demonstrate that, right, it takes a shorter amount of time to get people from street outreach, as an example, into shelter, and then from shelter into housing. So it was really more to serve as a motivator to say, hey, while people are under your care, try to connect them into housing as quickly as possible so that ultimately we reduce chronic homelessness, right? Because we know that the longer time that people spend on the streets or spend being homeless, the harder it is to try to get them back into some level of permanency. So I've had a lot of, or some conversations with some of the shelter directors, which is why I felt comfortable saying, hey, let's talk about this. I think on one end, we have to remember, if we extend this, we need to be careful about not sending a message that says, right, people can stay in shelter indefinitely. So there's got to be a good balance. But then also too, I think about our shelters and imagine that if we truly are going to want them to have more exits into housing, then we need to make sure that we're providing them with proper resources to have staff in house that can provide those workforce connections. Chris Oberg at Path of Life and I have talked about, even making sure that the shelters have their own behavioral health teams on site, because right all around, I think teams are reporting that the people that are coming into their programs more than ever now have more varied needs, have more mental health, substance use challenges. And so we need to make sure that those centers, those shelters have staff that are equipped to meet people where they're at. So I think the response will require us to dedicate more resources to shelter. And I think the other thing to keep in mind is we already don't have enough shelter beds, right? We have about 1,000 beds throughout the entire county. When we last did our inventory, our unsheltered count, right, we had almost 2,000 people that were experiencing unsheltered homelessness in our county. So we're already short on the number of beds. So by extending the length of stay, we're going to have less beds for people to access. So I think my recommendation would be, we already have a coordination call with our shelters each month, and our team could use that meeting to sort of drive this discussion and work with the shelter directors to come up with a recommendation.
And Tanya, before we turn it over to Kimberly, there's one other thing I think we should not forget, is that cities and the county land use control affects the definition. So for example, we changed our housing element definition of emergency shelter. It used to say not more than 180 days in a year, and now it says not more than 180 consecutive days. So land use control within each of, they have to define what emergency shelter, transitional, and permanent supportive housing is in their housing elements. The state HCD requires that. So that's another element of, regulation. So, Kimberly.
Hi, just a quick solution that I found. When the client didn't meet the criteria for rapid rehousing or permanent supportive housing, what we did is we reached out to our donor base and we let them know the problem was we have them in the shelter, they're stabilized, they're ready to go, but for some reason they don't meet the criteria. And there are lots of different reasons. We were able to secure a grant for enough money to house the people that fell into that category, which we never had before. So $3,500 for deposits. And we've got quite a bit of it. So anyway, it's just another thing. You just have to be more creative and do private funding or have a city help you, or just look for it somewhere else. That's all.
Okay, First Serve Foundation looks like they have a question.
Yes, it seems like it could be a working together, possibly the transitional housing piece, working together with the shelters in order to provide additional housing options for the shelters, since the beds are full and people who aren't have nowhere to go. It seems like it'd be working with transitional housing or that type of housing, that next step in order to keep people housed on their path to permanent housing. Not only do we have housing, but I know that there's a lot of other nonprofits and businesses that have houses that have beds available, but don't know how to kind of make that connection. So I don't know if there's a route for kind of that next step of providing housing and being a resource.
Yes, yes, there are resources that provide move-in assistance and navigation to whether it's a private rental unit or an affordable housing complex. But to your point, there simply is not enough. However, as you were speaking, I'm like, hey, this is the first time I've heard of First Serve Foundation. You're telling me you have beds that potentially, we may not be utilizing or referring people to. So that's the beauty of these meetings, because our partnerships grow. And so the number of resources that we have as a result do also. So thank you for letting us know about your programs. I'd love to connect with you sort of after this meeting to even learn a little bit more, so that we can, as you said, so beautifully connect those dots.
Okay, this has been a great discussion. Looking forward to more discussions with the shelter providers, Tanya, and a good job bringing up all of those important issues. I think we should be able to move to the next agenda item. Okay, I'll just have a couple of quick updates for you from our last Board of Governance meeting. A couple of things, what the Board of Governance decided to do. First of all, Tanya and team had an update for us on HAP round 3. There was one applicant for permanent supportive housing for $1 million. And before the award recommendation is made, they found out from the applicant there may be a delay. And so they're waiting to see if they'll be able to meet the deadline for June 26th. And if that can't happen, they will not be making the update. So it was just an informational update to us. Also, the Board of Governance made a decision regarding our Continuum of Care award for the 22 domestic violence bonus. There was $416,000 that was allocated to Transgender Health and Wellness Center, and sometimes because of timing and other complications with program implementation, organizations run into spending challenges. And so there was a great collaboration with Tanya and her team and other DV providers. And I believe his daughter's house stepped up, and the Board of Governance agreed to approve a reallocation of $185,000 of that so that the spending deadline could be met. And there was lively discussion around, well, what happens if they can't meet that deadline? And the Board of Governance gave Tanya and her team the authority to, between now and the December deadline of 23, find other DV providers if needed, because it's such a small amount of funding. So flexibility to meet deadlines is important. Also, kudos to Housing and Workforce Services for the cash funds from rounds 1 and 2. Housing and Workforce Services had some administrative savings that they did not use internally, which they could have instead made a recommendation to help CVRM, because they had no rapid rehousing funds left in that region. And they have a lot of people needing housing assistance. So the Board of Governance supported staff recommendations to reallocate that savings of $71,000 to CVRM. Also, we had the exciting update of all of the current Continuum of Care awards. I think 13.8 million, 19 renewal projects, 5 new projects. And just kudos again to the HWS staff and all of the applicants for making such a wonderful, strong application. A lot of work goes into that. And then if you didn't hear Tanya's report on our impact report at the last Continuum of Care meeting or at the Board of Governance meeting, man, you should listen in. It is incredible, the results that the Continuum of Care system has achieved. It's a great report, and Tanya did a great job. So if you haven't read it, please take the time to read it, because you can see how we're really moving the needle and making a huge difference in the region. So that concludes my Board of Governance update. Does anybody have any questions? I think Jessica and Kimberly, you're left from the last agenda item, right? No questions on Board of Governance? Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the next agenda item. All right. CSC and HMIS lead agency update. Is it Emma or are you doing it, Tanya?
I'm doing it, Karen.
You are. Okay, great.
I have
Take
my
it away.
notes.
Okay, Rashana.
So thank you, Karen. So next slide, Mar. So just the announcement of the street bid, updates from the street medicine bid application. We received one bid. The next step is to include making an award recommendation to the Board of Supervisors and posting that intent to award. At this time, I don't have any further information, but that's the update we have for the street medicine bid application. Also
Can I add something just because I'm
Yes.
super excited and I can't hold back about this? So one, super thankful to IHP and Molina who have worked with us, meet with us regularly, nonstop, and you have been a key part of those discussions and have really encouraged us to think creatively about how we utilize these funds to meet gaps within our system of care. And so, of course, we can do a better job at caring people and meeting people where they're at. We know that a lot of the people that are unsheltered today, especially the visibly homeless that you see when you're driving into work and you're getting off that freeway ramp, oftentimes have severe health conditions. And oftentimes a major incentive just to begin a discussion with them is to begin a discussion surrounding their health. And I said severe, but sometimes it could be, right, a street outreach worker talking to somebody and asking them about a spider bite that they had that now has led to an infection. And we know that there's huge value in being able to arm our street outreach teams that, right, your agencies run. There's agencies within this continuum who are on this call today: Path of Life, Coachella Valley Rescue Mission, Jewish Family Services, CityNet, Behavioral Health, Housing Authority, Step Up on Second, right? There's so many of us that come together. We're all sort of trying to reach people in the regions that we're assigned to. And we know, because we've heard from you, that it would be invaluable to have medical staff that could be deployed with your teams and help you engage persons for housing. But sometimes that conversation or that hook is beginning to talk to them about their health and that spider bite. Most importantly, because I don't want to downplay the role that healthcare has, we know that right, there's a correlation between healthcare and homelessness, and that, right, part of the reason that we do this work is because we truly care about people and we want them to lead longer, healthier lives. So I'm excited because these teams will be joining our existing street outreach teams in the field and will be available to you to target areas where you guys have a need. So again, this is all about creating a coordinated approach, a collaborative approach where we're all working together. We all have access to each other and we can call each other when we have a client before us that has a specific need. So I can't wait to get these teams on the ground. And I just want to give a special shout out to Amy Primrose, who is on our team and has been a huge champion for this work. She's actually the one that sold me on it. I wish I could say it was my idea, but it wasn't. It was her idea. And we just can't wait to get these teams on the ground. So more to come. Stay tuned.
Thank you, Tanya, for that addition. Just another update from our HMIS team. The 2024 HUD HMIS data standards will be automatically updated by our software vendor, Big Focus, and our HMIS team on October 1st. So good news for our HUD CLC providers. And that's a good segue into our next exciting update, and I'll pass the microphone over to my colleague Natalis.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natalis Ng, and I'm the Administrative Services Officer of the Continuum of Care. And as you can see on the screen, in this 2023 Riverside County COC program competition, and we currently have $13 million plus in existing projects. And then, so we are almost ready. We're 99.5% ready to click that button to submit the application. If I can, and then the deadline from HUD is tomorrow, but I'm hoping to submit it today or early tomorrow morning. So, and then if I can steal the screen, and I'm going to show you the details of it. Okay, on the screen here, you can see the magnitude of this competition. So the funding available, as we mentioned earlier, we have $13.8 million in annual renewal amount, and then it will be split into Tier 1, $12.8 million, and Tier 2, almost $1 million. Tier 1 is more guaranteed, and Tier 2 is more competitive. And it is a nationwide competition. So, and then we have $2.5 million in new project amounts, and then $1 million in COC bonus, and almost $1.5 million in DV bonus. And then we have has set aside $745,000 in COC planning grant. And so this is almost doubling of what we got last year in round 2022, because we used last time we got 400,000. And then, so in total, the total funding available to us for our COC is $17.1 million. So let's look at the magnitude of it. So the number of applications we will be submitting to HUD includes 19 renewal project applications, 2 COC bonus new project applications, 2 DV bonus new project applications, and 1 COC planning new project application, 1 COC application, 1 priority listing application. So all together, we are submitting 26 applications to HUD in this national competition. So, and then of course, no one person can do it all. And then I would like to thank everyone, and then who has been working with me and in the past 2.5 months, and HUD opened it back on July 5th. And then the deadline is tomorrow. And then thank you for all of the our COC program subrecipients and the new project applicants. I know that it has been created a lot of stress. And then, so if you are frustrated about eSnaps, eSnaps is the electronic system that HUD uses to manage this grant application. And from HUD's all grantee meeting this morning, and HUD already announced that it is on their radar to improve that system or even replace that system. But then we will not be able to see that implemented. Like it will still be a few years out. And then, and also HUD is saying that they are also proposing for the competition to be a 2-year competition, so every 2 years, so that we don't need to go through all this work every single year. Yay. So those are being proposed. And so as I scroll down, you can see on the left-hand side, those are the ranking, and then we will also be able to see the agency, project name, grant amounts, number of units, beds, and supervisorial districts that these projects serve. So, and then I'm going to scroll down slowly, and then toward the end. So, and then project number 18 is split into 2 parts. Yeah, and then one part is in Tier 1, the other part is in Tier 2. And then we have DV bonus 2 projects and COC bonus 2 projects. And then at the bottom is the total. We just went through the total earlier, but then you can see that our number of units. In the recent years, our COC has been having a great track record of getting everything that we applied for. So if we could also get this time, And then we will be increasing our number of units from like 594 to 670. And then the number of beds would increase from 849 to 1,023. So it will be very exciting to see our total funding potentially could jump from $13.8 million to $17.1 million. And then just to show you, and as I'm zooming out, and then on the right-hand side is a screenshot on eSNAP. This is taken from the project listing application, and then you can see that the numbers are matching to each other. So, and then this is how I double check that I'm not leaving any one single dollar out. We are applying for the maximum dollars, and we're competing for it. So again, thank you all very, very much for your support, for your cooperation. And then also I would like to give a shout out to Illumination Foundation, and then they have submitted this project. That although it is ranked number 23, but then this project is going to help our COC gain 14 points. From our biggest HUD would also rate our COC overall application. Out of the total 200 points, and 7 points will be given to how we leverage housing resources, and then another 7 points will be given to how we leverage healthcare resources. So again, great shout out to Illumination Foundation, and also the support of the Housing Authority, and also our UHS Behavioral Health. And without their support, we would not be able to get these 14 points. So, and then so these point system is how HUD allocates funding to us. So and then if you are interested in all the details, everything is posted in our website, and I can put I can put the link to our COC website that has all of our local competition information on it, including all the details. The actual applications are also posted on there. So, and I'm going to put it on the chat. So feel free to let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions for Natalis? Okay, good job, Natalis. You know, it might be interesting. I know that there's all of those other windows that you have to populate in the HUD application in terms of how we're pacing for whether it's employment or length of stay or the other HUD metrics that are required, discharge planning. It'd be really cool, especially with all of the progress that we've made. Tanya, in your report that you just did and looking how the system is moving to see how we're doing. When you populate that, you get an idea of how we're doing based on the scoring system they have, right? In the application. And I bet you we're rocking it big time, right?
Yes. So I just want to make sure, Karen, I'm understanding. So you're saying, like, let's just look at with the additional new funding or the projects funded, what our impact would be, or how that would.
And I haven't looked at the application in a while, but usually they're asking for like the rolled up, how we're doing in terms of measures like employment or earned income, or how we're doing with discharge plans. There's all that extra information. Is that not required in the HUD app anymore?
So Karen, yes, it is. They are required, but then they are all these are all details. Yeah. Like because the scoring system, like the 200 points is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 categories. So, and then those measures that you mentioned, the employment, and then the increase in or decrease in homeless count, and then those are all like details under these categories. And then last year in 2022, out of the 200 points, we scored 166.75 points. And then whereas the highest score for any COC is 188.75 points, and the median score is 154.5. So we're definitely we definitely scored above the median score. So, and then we hope that we will continue the trend to score higher, and then that would potentially bring more funding and resources to our COC.
Yeah, that's what I meant, Tanya, just how we're doing. So I think it's all rolled up based on data that you're putting in. So it'd be interesting to see. Good job, you guys. Chris, did you have a question or a comment about the CSE app?
Yeah, I want to one comment as we think towards next year. The county team is awesome. I don't, I really mean that. There's a ton of help available. This makes me think for next year to set my calendar alert to go off before the workshops begin. Because once those workshops begin, to get kind of unique and particular advice was not an option because the competition is now underway. And so we could submit our questions and the team did their best to answer the questions. And then if we still needed more color to the question but let's ask again the difference between renewal and a new project. We couldn't go further in the conversation because it's an open competition now. So it would be really helpful to be able to think that through, even with the bonus round of funding and so forth. I didn't understand that once we began at that level, we wouldn't be able to, have a technical assist meeting or something like that. So it's a thought for the future.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your input, because every year we look for room for improvement. And then I remember when I first joined the Continuum of Care, we had $9 million. Now we're competing for $17 million. And then our process has also improved greatly. Before we did not have any office hours, and then now we have multiple office hours. So and even some one-on-one was available this time too. And then moving forward, we are looking forward to a lot of room for a lot of ways to improve our process.
Okay, I think we're going to have to move on because we still have Amy that needs to give us an update on HIP. Amy, I'm so sorry. We don't want to take away from the amazing work you do and the important updates. So we're going to go ahead and pass it to you.
I guess it would help if I took myself off mute. Hi, everybody. Thank you. I will try to keep this brief. I know that we're running out of time. The housing, excuse me, the Housing and Homelessness Incentive Program, Roshana has already given one of our most exciting updates about street medicine. Just a quick background. The incentive program allows managed care plans of California to earn incentive funding by making meaningful investments into their homeless systems of care. Our MCPs are IHP and Molina, who have invested a total of $35,095,000 into our system of care. But IHP went a step further and have also given us $12 million of incentive funding. This incentive funding is earnable, which brings us to a total of $47,095,000 that our MCPs have invested into our homeless system of care. So exciting. The vision of the HIP program is to prove health outcomes and access to whole person care services by addressing housing insecurity and instability as a social determinant of health for the Medi-Cal population. As you see on my slide, I've grouped them into the investments into three categories, although there's about 35 different activities that these investments will be funding. But I've highlighted just some of the biggest ones: street outreach, COC support, permanent supportive housing. I know permanent supportive housing alone has about $20 million going to it, and you can see the list of housing that is being provided from this money. And there's a lot of awesome things going on. I know that we're tight on time, but if you have any questions, concerns, please feel free to contact me, aprimrose@rivco.org, or my telephone number's below. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. And thank you, Karen. I'll pass it back to you.
Nice job. That is like so amazing. I think that 12 million extra went to boost PSH, didn't it? For production for housing, was it?
Yes, some of it is, yes.
Okay, great. That is amazing. It looks like Alan has a quick question. Alan?
Oh, actually, I was just clapping.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thanks, Alan.
Out
Oh,
of
you're
Galena.
welcome.
Great, clap with you. It's great news. Okay, so the rest of the agenda items are informational in terms of the committee meetings, no letters of support, APR reports in the Google Docs. Are there any calls for agenda items for the next Continuum of Care meeting? Okay, you can always suggest them by emailing csc@rivco.org. Does anybody have any announcements? Look at it's 4:58. We're gonna make it on time, you guys. Anybody have any special announcements? Okay, well, hearing none, you guys, the meeting is adjourned on time and the upcoming meetings are listed there for you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. And until we see you again, keep up the great work and the lives that you're changing. We appreciate you more than you know. Take care.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.